Hey everyone, I have to apologize for the audio quality of this week's episode of Idle Thumbs. Unfortunately, we lost Jake's audio file, and so he is very quiet in this episode as his voice is sort of ambiently picked up by all the rest of our mics, but doesn't really come through like you'd want it to. So really sorry about that. Hopefully the rest of us pick up the slack. In any case, do your best at enjoying this week's episode of Idle Thumbs.
It is August 26th, 2015.
This is Idle Thumbs 225. I'm Chris Remo.
I am Sean Vanneman.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
I'm James Spafford.
And I'm Danielle Riendo, The Last of Us.
God.
Good. Really good.
That was officially your name because you were an Ultra fan. That would be bad.
I've changed my last name to The Last of Us.
I just really responded to that game.
Exactly.
You got a free copy of The Last of Us.
Look
for
at
doing
that.
Though. And you got that tattoo on you.
They invited me to the launch party for the DLC. Oh, you're that girl who changed her last name to The Last of Us. Yeah.
That's me.
When you meet the devs at PAX, oh, cool. Do you want a photo?
And yeah.
What game was that? Was it a Hitman game?
No, there was Turok. If you change your name to Turok, then you got a free copy of the game. My favorite one of those is what game was it? It was like Need for Speed or something. They said, if you get caught speeding on the way to buy this game, we will pay your speeding ticket.
Oh my God.
The UK police were like, no.
Oh my God.
Do not do that.
That's fantastic. What?
Well done, PR.
I know there are a lot of people, there are a lot of devs who get very excited when somebody has a tattoo of their game, and they retweet it, and they sort of show it up. What happens if somebody is a passionate fan and has a tattoo of the game, and you're expected to kind of show it up, but it looks horrible and or is offensive?
It's off model.
Yeah.
It's like an adult tattoo.
Yeah, it's
an adult tattoo.
Yoshi's doing bad things to Mario, and what do you do?
Here's my /fic Yoshi.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Tattoo.
That must
Miyamoto.
happen.
Yeah.
That must happen. So what does a dev do? Ignore it, I'm sure.
Nice.
Ignore it, yeah.
There must be a thread on Gaff about bad game tattoos. I've seen a bunch of really horrendous looking Kratos. Weird fat bald Kratos.
Don't do that to Kratos.
Midlife crisis Kratos tattoo.
Yeah. Midlife Kratos.
He was speeding on the way to Need for Speed. Yeah.
The worst version of a developer soliciting anything like that was the publisher Acclaim in 2002 to promote its game Shadow Man 2, which I don't even remember what that was.
Oh God.
The slogan for the game was "Journey to the Death Side," and they offered to pay people who would put a small advertisement for the game on the gravestone of dead relatives.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
in the UK.
Wait, when was this?
2002. The Church of England said there was no way it would allow any of its graveyards to be used in such a fashion. A spokesman said there was enough fuss with plastic flowers in churchyards.
The United Kingdom.
That was also pre-iPhone. So you couldn't upload a photo of that to Twitter after you took.
No, they're just presumably trying to go after people who walk through graveyards.
Yeah, exactly. I was these are poses.
Yeah, our target market is people who browse graves.
That's around the time they could have started flash mobbing real funerals.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh God. Oh wow.
Flash mob, but then say Shadow Man was.
Oh man.
Shadowman.
This is the worst.
A mob of Shadowmen.
The Acclaim Entertainment said yesterday that the offer might, quote, particularly interest poorer families.
Oh my god,
What?
that's so horrible.
This is offensive on every level.
Acclaim
Yeah.
are gone now, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is...
Well, is
Good.
it was
Good.
it Turok also Acclaim?
Probably.
No,
yeah.
Turok was previously owned by
Turok
Acclaim
was
and
Acclaim.
sold to
Oh.
Disney.
I thought okay, all right.
But at the
Wait,
time,
Disney?
that that
Turok was sold to Disney.
I think the name your kid thing was when it was the Disney Turok. I think.
Oh, really?
The Turok.
oh
Oh,
crazy,
shit.
okay.
Oh yeah, it was name your
Xbox-
kid. It wasn't even
Xbox
name
360
yourself.
Turok.
The
Yeah,
original.
it was name your child Turok for
Oh my
freaking Turok.
god!
How desperate
Are there
you
little
for
Turoks running around who would be like in their teens now? Right?
There is definitely like an
No,
11-year-old
the Turok thing was
somewhere.
also 2002. It was the same year as
That
the
was
Bridge
Acclaim.
Style
Okay,
thing.
so
That was
Acclaim
definitely
then.
Acclaim.
Yeah.
It was just bad taste.
It clearly got eclipsed by
Yeah. God, they must have had
Worked
some
so well.
weird marketing guy who just went on a fucking rampage.
Yeah.
In 2002.
Man, did they also do the police chasing Need for Speed one or whatever?
That
the
would be
hell game
that
was?
was
amazing.
Electronic Arts.
Yeah,
Oh,
but maybe
okay.
it was a different car game. I don't know.
It could be, yeah.
Maybe
They had a
I'm-
different
Maybe I'm
version.
bad mouthing.
The story
Need for
is
like
bad
if you
guy.
die in a car crash,
ahead of
we'll name a car after you or something. I'm sure.
Rockstar sending people cocaine. You have to explain he was first unborn.
God,
Good.
wow.
Rockstar didn't send people drugs, did they?
No, but they did get in trouble because people assumed that they had flooded the market with
Oh
a
my
bunch
God,
of
it
pills
was
that had
Acclaim!
Rockstar logos on.
The speeding ticket thing
It was Acclaim.
It was Acclaim in, guess what year? 2002.
There you go.
Acclaim Entertainment wants to pay the speeding tickets of British drivers. As part of the release of its PlayStation 2 game, Burnout 2 Point of Impact, Acclaim will pay the ticket for any driver caught by a speed camera on October 11th. The British Department of Transportation believes that Acclaim is encouraging people to speed and to break the law. Sean White, a spokesperson for Acclaim, stated Acclaim was not really encouraging drivers to speed, but just wanting to, quote, ease the financial pain a bit.
So that guy, Sean White, that's probably the one.
probably the
That's probably
pro
the
snowboarder.
guy.
It's probably him. These are all his ideas. What is
look him
Sean
up
White
on
doing
LinkedIn.
today?
Winning gold medals in the Olympics.
Sean White of Acclaim.
Desperate,
Yeah.
desperate Acclaim. Right before its final curtain.
You know, late 90s Acclaim had some actual good games, and then they went back to being mid-90s
Acclaim was
Acclaim.
did
it
NBA
feels like.
Jam, right?
Yeah, they had some good...
Yeah.
Honestly,
NBA
good
Jam's
games.
A great game.
They were acclaimed. That's what they claimed, I guess. Anyway. Boo. I mean, there's...
They had two different Turok name ones. There was one, the British version was couples should change their name to Turok, and then the American one was name your baby Turok.
Wait, so a couple would be like two people would now go by Turok.
Oh,
Weird, but you have
We
to
are Turok now.
change your first names? Or
I
your-
don't know.
Amazing.
God, what
This is
a weird...
incredible.
In the
World.
UK, it's free to change your name if you're a student.
Oh, maybe that's
If you're
why
a
they
student?
Yeah, you have to pay, and it's not actually that much to pay to change your name, but if you're a student, you can get it done for free, so you may as well.
You may as well
All
be
these
Turok.
students out there.
That was probably their target audience at the time.
There's a famous story about a guy who got gypped by a bank who charged him loads of money, and he finally got a settlement from them for like 5 pence or something, and he changed his name to Scottish Bank PLC or a bunch of fascist bastards, and then they had to like make the check out to that name.
It's a game in the
There you
system. Oh, that's
He
so
was also
beautiful.
given multiple copies of Burnout 2.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. So anyway, welcome to the podcast, The Last of Us Riendo.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
you played Mario Maker, you said. to
I
us.
sure did.
You've played it.
I've played a lot
Jake,
of
she's
it.
played it.
I want to play it.
Wait, when
Are you
did
green
Mario
with
Maker
envy?
actually appear
Yeah.
for real people?
Good old 9/11.
Good old 9/11.
I just find that really weird. I just find it weird that this very joyful, happy game is 9/11's a weird day for
Just
Americans.
taking it back.
It's
If you're
just,
12,
I guess that's true.
if you're 12, you're like,
12.
it's like, you know,
It's just
December
any other
8th
day.
or whatever.
God, if
Yeah.
you're 12, 9/11 happened before you existed. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
You're just like, oh yeah.
I like
All right.
that day. Yeah.
And yet you somehow still know what Mario Maker is about.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good demographic to be in.
Yeah, from now on, 9/11 will be synonymous with the day Mario
Right,
Maker
maybe
came
they're
out.
trying to
How
reclaim
long
it?
until, like, instantly, right? Mario Maker comes out on 9/11.
Sean,
Instantly, somebody's going to make a Mario level of 2 towers.
Oh.
You have to, like...
No.
Somebody might
No.
do it. Somebody might.
They would. Yeah. They would.
Somebody might.
You know what someone's already done is they made a Mario Maker level of Flappy Bird.
Yes,
There's
there's
a
Flappy Mario.
Yeah, there's a video that shows in like kind of pseudo time lapse the entire unbroken process of creating Flappy Bird in Mario Maker, and it's pretty amazing.
So good.
Water.
That makes sense.
The whole level.
Crazy. Watching Jake's face.
Water.
Watching Jake's face. Just a whole turn.
Yeah, it's bonkers. It's cool to watch.
So this
And he made
They totally ripped off the pipes from Flappy Bird exactly for that.
that's what it was.
This looks remarkably like
I
Flappy
made that
Bird.
joke. I bet no one made the joke about the
Yeah.
Mario Maker pipes and Flappy Bird pipes. I'm the first one to that.
Yeah, you are.
Let it be known that today
He also just made it in classic, like, custom Mario form. He also just made it the most outrageous version of that, where there's, like, bullet bills and flames and, fucking hammer throwers and all that shit just everywhere just because they're hard.
Because you can.
because of course there's going to be a lot of that. There already is a lot of that. So I can't say anything that sounds like a review-like comment because of embargo, but I have been playing a lot of it actually and streaming a lot of it.
You wouldn't play a lot of it if it was bad.
That's you could maybe say that, I'm sure Nintendo would be fine with that statement, I suppose. But it is, for those who don't know, it is basically a very robust 2D Mario level design tool set, and you can sort of switch the aesthetic and actually the physics and sort of the way the game plays between new Super Mario Brothers style, 8-bit old Mario style, and like sort of there's both Mario Brothers 3 and original Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario World. So you can sort of switch all those things, and the movesets are different. Mario can grab things in the Super Mario World aesthetic, whatever, sort of that world.
Jump in New Super Mario
Wall
Brothers.
jump and butt stomp and all that other stuff in New Super Mario Brothers. So you can sort of change things on the fly as you are designing a level. You can change, hey, this would look more cool if it were Super Mario World or that sort of thing, and all those moves will change. So you do have to kind of keep that in mind when you're designing a level. And you can also play this game selfishly, as my colleague Ben Kuchera has been doing. He has been playing it and just treating it as like, this is an ultimate Mario level banquet, because there are already hundreds of levels. Media has it already, and a lot of sort of YouTube people have it already, because Nintendo wanted people to stream. This is one of the first games, actually, Nintendo has sort of been like, here, stream this,
Yeah,
which is
that's awesome.
very, very new for them.
I was wondering,
Great.
the guy, oh man,
Yeah.
also the guy who made the Flappy Mario is
Is it Per Jared?
I don't know, he's a German person.
Oh, okay.
And it was really funny to hear. Sorry, German people. It was very amusing to me to hear him like narrate this whole thing in German and then hear the words that are still the
Like
same
in
because
English,
they're just proper nouns from Mario, interspersed with
Like Gumba? Just
Yeah.
thrown in there.
yeah, with obviously just German language. It was pretty hilarious.
Pretty good. He has made some amazing levels. I think his name is like Dagalash or Dagoslash, something like that. And
Okay.
like some of my most favorite levels are from him. He's made a bunch of like puzzle levels. He's made a bunch of really interesting sort of creative things that are even more fun than sort of the game comes loaded with something like 60 odd Nintendo design levels, and that's sort of the first thing you play, and then you start to go into other stuff if you choose to. And
So-
he's like done some cool stuff.
I have
Just this
two,
person.
two questions about
Yes.
this game. So one, that guy's video had it showed all of the creation of the level, including like where his little stylus cursor was pointing all the time.
Yeah.
Does the game did he add that somehow, or does the game have?
No, the game does that.
That's all. I figured it must. It would have
Yeah.
been.
Game keeps your creation history inside of it, so you can play it back.
Oh.
Or did he just record the time?
He recorded it. I thought you meant the hand, like
Yeah, the
seeing where the
hand
stylus
thing.
goes.
Yeah,
the
that's what I
hand.
mean.
Okay.
The
So-
hand is in there when you're
Yeah.
designing level. You see a little hand on your screen wherever you're pointing your stylus at.
Oh, so he
basically.
just recorded that whole
Yeah,
thing.
he
that
probably
wasn't
just-
part. That wasn't part of like a playback thing.
Right.
That, okay.
right.
Okay.
It's doing that in real time, so you
Okay,
always
got
see
it.
sort of where your
Got it.
stylus is
All
pointed.
right, cool. So that's, and then my other question is, so you said it ships with 60
Something like that.
Is
I'm
there
not sure
a
exactly
weird,
what, but-
like I could see Nintendo doing this. Is there a weird like campaign where there's somehow the story is that
Sort
the
of.
world has been exploded into like all of its component parts?
It's
and-
not exactly like that. They actually kind of take, and I'm actually assuming this is part of where this game came from, but they take this sort of approach of NES Remix, which I think are fantastic games, of like, here, you just go into this interface, and it's Mario Maker, and you can either make a level or go right into the, there's a 100 Mario challenge and an 80 and a 10 Mario challenge. The 10 Mario challenge is the sort of quote-unquote campaign, I guess, where you have 10 lives to beat 8 levels, and then there's a castle. And those are the Nintendo-made levels. And they do a little tiny cutscene where it's like, the princess is in trouble, save her. And that's it. There's no, like, weird storyline where Bowser created a million realities of levels or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And the 100 Mario Challenge is the same thing, but with randomly selected levels from all over the world, basically.
Oh, crazy.
Which
so
is
that changes
awesome.
every time you play it?
Exactly.
Wow.
And you can skip a level easily, so if something really sucks, which some of them do, you can really easily skip it.
Just play infinite
levels.
World-generated Mario single-player game.
Yeah, because that's one of the
It's
biggest
great.
things with those.
Yeah.
You know, we played a lot of Little Big Planet 2 or 3. Two.
Oh, that's a great game, too.
Like, whatever, player-generated stuff. Yeah. And there's that sort of moment where you're just sorting through all the stuff that's out there. So the fact that it just grabs you 10 and says go is really cool.
It's great, and it does that for 10 of those. That's why it's like the 100 Mario Challenge. So there are, well, I guess it's 80 levels if you go through the whole thing. You know, it's 8 iterations of these 10 levels. Not iterations, but like sets of these 10 levels. Yeah, it's really great. And of course, you can always, you can also go in and, like, if you like a creator, you can look at all their levels, or you can go to sort of the newest levels or anything like that. You can sort them however you want, but
Little Big Planet style, then.
very much so, yeah.
And how do they deal with that curation? Yeah. Because with Little Big Planet, we had so much... The first game, there was so much problem with there being millions of levels and a lot of them just being...
Not great.
Yeah, exactly. And to pull out 100 random levels, you know, you might find something good in there, but you probably would be just people's experiments and mad shit. And we had this, like, one algorithm called cool levels that would just, like, try and figure out what was cool, and it didn't work at all.
Sure. Yeah, no.
You need to rely on, like, both human curators and various, like, algorithms and machines to try and figure it out and, like, combo those things.
I remember hearing with Mario Maker that before you submit your level at all, you have to actually be able to play through it from start to
and beat it.
Yeah, that's really important.
You can't post an in-progress thing that would then get included in rotation.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty low bar for quality.
I mean, it doesn't say it's good, but it at least says if you're playing a campaign with 100 lives, you'll be able to get through it in some capacity.
Yeah.
It's
sure, but I think the problem Spaff is talking about is that a lot of those are just bad.
It's also because they don't penalize you for skipping a level either with a life or anything like that.
So you just skip all 100 and be like, yes.
I would imagine. I wonder.
But you still have to beat the 100 levels. It's just
okay.
You can
in
say
any
this
order.
one.
Do they have any sort of like starring or
yes
liking?
There is.
That makes things higher over time. So
I believe so.
Sad guinea pig, but
hopefully also levels that are repeatedly skipped by lots of people just also are sort of
drop to the bottom of the pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far, so it's really weird right now because there's only, I don't know, I'm going to guess 300 or so people that are playing this right now and making levels and things like that. So it's a pretty small pool. However, it's also probably not representative of the highest highs either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't wait until actual, game designers have this in their hands and can make incredible things. It's, like I said, it's
not going to
really
be game
rich
designers.
tool set.
It's just going to be crazy.
It's going to be 8-year-olds.
Crazy people, 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
who know what they're doing.
Designers,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many fucking levels. Like, Little Big Planet has 8 and 9 million levels,
my
and that's
God.
like Little Big Planet. Mario is huge compared to that.
well, it's
Especially when you make huge Mario and Mario.
Oh, that's right.
Itself is huge.
Mario can be big.
Man, I'm really interested to see how they sort through everything and allow you to find the good content and
Yeah.
I'm really
It's working so far, but that's again with a small sample.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
A level by someone you enjoy, you can see their latest episode. Can you bookmark creators that you like?
I think so.
Because that like finding the person whose work that you like and you just want to know, I want to just subscribe to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you put a new thing up, like that's generally what. Like, that's what
I thought Little Big
doing.
Planet 2 did that pretty well, because that was like my favorite thing about that game.
Yeah, find people whose work you like and then just get their stuff sent to you.
Yeah, and
follow creators.
Like I thought that game enough
like
to actually get excited when a creator would like put out a new thing, and I'm like, oh my god, like
It's their new level.
It's the newest
Well,
one because you knew it was going to be their best one too.
I mean, there were like Little Big Planet sites, I assume, that tracked stuff like that, right? Where popular creators probably.
Yeah, we made one that put all of the content
nice.
onto the web. So, like, the first game was this horrible walled garden, just, it was on your machine, but if you wanted to show anyone what you had made, they had to have a PS3. You had to tell them your PSN name, they had to write it down on a piece of paper or remember it and then go and type it in. And that horrible disconnect just broke the sharing stuff. So to bring it all out onto the web, I mean, you could just send someone a link, and then we had a big button that was just like add to
Oh,
queue
that's
or
awesome.
play
Oh, nice.
now.
Yeah.
Like if you had a thing like the website loaded and you were logged in to PSN, you could just hit play now on the web and it would just load the level, which was fantastic.
No, that's amazing.
really
It was like
cool.
I would sit at work and be like, "What am I going to play when I get home?"
Yeah, and you could just
Find
queue stuff in.
Yeah.
So hopefully the Mario guys figure something cool like that out.
Rip LD.
The Mario guys.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it worked. I actually taught a game design class once with Little Big Planet, and it was really fun, and my students really loved it.
Cool.
It was a good time. But yeah, this, again, without saying anything reviewy, I am having a lot of fun with this. And I also, everybody knows this, I really like platformers. Platformers are my favorite genre in the world. And whenever this is like endless Mario content. And
Unlike Little Big Planet, it actually has good jump physics.
what? I didn't have a problem.
Controversial.
I didn't have a problem with the jump physics.
No,
They weren't Mario level.
I feel like this game is not creating, but like fixing a huge wrong with the gaming world. Like this game should have existed 30 years
What
ago.
is the wrong that needs addressing?
That Mario Maker did not exist.
Oh, just in general.
All this whole fucking time.
Even fixing is very specific.
Yeah.
Why the hell couldn't you just make a Mario?
Yeah.
Like, you can make it.
Well, yeah, 'cause people-
Where's the Mario?
People, I mean,
Yeah.
that gap was filled on other like unofficial memes.
ROM
Little Big
hacks.
Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but-
Thing.
Go to
but-
Chris's calculator.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
but also
Year.
like specifically with Mario through just other fan-made
Yes.
things.
That weird,
Yeah.
that like Super Mario X or whatever that was called that people
Yeah.
used for a while to make insane Mario World.
Yeah.
maps.
Yeah, there was
I
some
want that community
great
to get
ROM
involved
hacks.
in this because
They
they're
will.
like
And I think they
crazy,
will, yeah.
barely completable levels. Like like you cannot see any platforms, and you have to like headbutt them from below to even reveal the next platform
Like,
levels
is it
forever.
Kaizo Mario or something like that? That
Oh,
was
yeah,
like
is
the
that what it
infamous
is?
sort of ROM hack that's like close to impossible. And even when they speedrun it at like an SGDQ, people die like 8 times in a speedrun. That's how ridiculously
Right.
tough
There's a
it is.
super good video of someone playing one of those levels. It sounds exactly like Marek Bronstring talking about it. I'll try and find that level, but it's really funny.
Oh, it's so
And
good.
if this game had come out when I was in high school, I feel like my friends and I would have played it a lot, just like sitting in a friend's garage, just.
I did that this
making
weekend,
demonic
yeah.
levels and then making each other play them.
Just
Yeah.
killing each other forever.
Yeah.
We-
With like
yeah.
making them and not having to submit to the like has to be completable to submit thing because we would just be passing the controller around in the garage,
Just being
and
dicks
just
to each
making
other.
Is that-
making terrible bullshit.
Every platform game ever in the entire universe all just goes back to what Mario created, and so just having this now, everyone can use it, and everyone knows exactly how Mario levels should be. Like everyone in the whole world so they can just make
I'm so
sweet
excited
Mario levels.
for what 8-year-olds. And I really do want to see what at least some like out there interesting sort of indie designers who have made weird platformers before will do with this.
Fez
They will do
released
cool
what
things.
is a Mario.
That'd be cool.
What I'm excited about is what weird kind of community-based things will arise, like sub-community things.
Yeah.
For instance, just go back Little Big Planet again, there were a whole bunch of people who really loved bomb survival levels and shark survival levels. This was a whole subgenre of
Nice.
hundreds of
Yeah, stuff
thousands
like
of
that is so
levels.
good.
So like what will be the Mario thing of that, where like all the the 10-year-old kids, all they want to play is a specific subset of
Yeah.
weird
Well,
Mario.
that was like-
Karibo's shoe.
yeah.
I mean, I've talked about this in obviously like as alluded, Mario like Texas Instruments TI-86.
Yeah, of course.
Couldn't complete
But like,
this conversation.
well, it was already brought up. But
the real
I just want to talk
Mario.
about one specific part of it, just to go to your point about sort of little sub communities. Is that kind of thing developed on that too? Because you could trade these levels over the internet by just uploading the like little like level file that was generated by the program on the calculator. And there were like totally weird subgenres, like the ones where the only surface Mario has is like individually floating single blocks of water just in the sky.
man.
So like when you jump to it, you immediately
You're
start
in it?
sinking into it. And if you sink into it for more than like a second, you just fall to your death because it's one single tile of water. So you have to like
I wonder if you could break
kind of
this
do the
like
like
that in
light
Mario
tap
Maker.
to just keep yourself like treading water and then jump to the next one. And like every single jump has to be perfect because they're always placed, the exact distance you can
Oh my
make.
God.
Yeah, that's exactly
like
it.
stuff like that, where like that would become like a popular thing, where people would one up themselves on that one little design tenet to
Yeah.
make just the most outrageous version.
I feel like
of it
now you've
possible.
brought that up, that will become a thing.
I hope
Totally.
I think you can, because I saw the way the guy was making the Flappy Bird level, and you just drag out water to like whatever XY dimensions you want. So I don't know why you wouldn't be able to just make a one by one.
You can make any grid anything you want, basically.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Can you so I'm sure I could have just searched around and found this out, but like, can you use the tile set from just Mario 1 and it actually just looks like straight up like Mario 1? Like, doesn't have like weird better edges to make things like...
The way that it works is it's the straight up sprites from Mario 1, but then the thing that's strange that I noticed, at least from E3, is that enemy and objects that have been back and forward ported as well. So you can place like the leaping, like the circle block, or the circle enemy that emits a flame trail from Mario 3 and Mario 1, but they've made a Mario 1 aesthetic version of that.
Oh man, that's cool.
Really
so if you
cool.
move like the P-Wing to Mario 1,
Yes,
there'll be a Mario 1 P-Wing?
Man, that's
I think so,
crazy.
yeah.
What on
There's a lot
earth?
of mixing and
Mario 1 Yoshi?
Some degree of that stuff is supported.
There is
No.
Mario.
Is there?
Mario
I
1,
want one.
I don't know if
The
it's
Yoshi?
embargoed, but
Oh,
there
man, that would
are
be crazy.
costumes that you can change into. Some of them are embargoed, some of them aren't. But I think the Yoshi one is not embargoed. So yeah, you can be Yoshi in like Mario 1.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
Can you ride him around? Though? That's the thing. Is I don't
No.
know
That's not a move
No,
set
you
from-
just become
part of the
you
move
just
set.
become a Yoshi
'cause
sprite.
I know in
Yeah.
the E3 in the Nintendo World Championship thing, there was stuff in the Mario 1 themed level that was very clearly not an element of the enemy or moveset.
Right.
Yeah.
In Mario 1, and the impression that I got is that at least some stuff just totally they've back and forward ported support for things.
Yeah, it's really cool. And some of those little costumes they're all a little 8-bit sprite. So I think the costumes, I could be wrong, and I don't know which ones are only only in there, but you can do a lot of weird things with back and forth. So it's cool. It's really, really cool. I'm so excited to see what the general public will make out of this, and
I'm excited.
I'm already having a lot of fun. Yeah, I know it's so weird to me that this game that's already bringing me a lot of joy is like
It's good. It's going to take it back.
9/11. Like,
true.
Please take it back.
On 9/11.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yay. Anyway, that's a cool looking game.
Nice.
Are there any dick levels yet?
Not yet.
Really?
I haven't seen one dick, and I've played hundreds of levels in this game.
That's disappointing
Hundreds.
for you.
My friends and I was having a rough night one night last weekend, and I played this game with my friends, and it was the most joyful, happy time. And we tried really hard to make like boobs in it, like a pair of lady lumps, and nothing. They didn't look. They were lovely, but they just didn't look boob-like. And I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the grid. Maybe it has to do with the way everything.
I mean, it
looks.
probably
there's
has to do with the
something- you
grade.
think there's something
I would say
scientifically
that's not really going
innate.
too far out on a limb.
Yeah, the Mario aesthetic is just so family friendly that you cannot even.
That's
Mr. Miyamoto, we've done it. We've created a sprite sheet where it's impossible to draw a dick or a boob.
They've
We've done
made it
it.
hard. They've made it really difficult to make
They've
any
made it hard.
dick. I didn't even mean that.
I bet they have really extreme vetting processes.
Yeah.
And
I'm
this
sure
Nintendo.
they do. I was just
Something's wrong
surprised.
with your level.
No, Mario dies if he sees a dick. That's normal. Yeah, that's all right.
Classic Mario.
Classic Mario.
Turns to the
I hate
screen
those
and
dick levels.
Oh man,
It drops
Spaff,
off.
You're
Yo.
the one who says Mario.
Mario.
We got a tweet, I guess, from someone who was
Stop saying
Mario.
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 It's a big world out there. People say it
There
all
are a lot
sorts
of people
ways.
in New
Yeah.
York who say Mario.
That's true.
I don't understand
I said
it.
it when I was a kid because I
Did
moved from
you?
New York to California and I got made fun
how we
of
say Mario.
for saying three things. I said Mario instead of Mario. I said orange instead of orange.
I say
and
orange.
I said aerial instead of antenna, which I think might be
What?
even. I think that might be an even more hyper local thing to where I was from. Yeah.
Like
I
a
say-
car aerial?
You said Bush did 9/11 was the fourth.
In like 1992 or whatever.
Really prescient and accurate.
Oh, yeah. I still say orange.
You know what I did actually? Okay, there was a ridiculous thing involving Bush that I did when I was in second grade. At my elementary school, we had a class play every year, and all of us had to like design a program a little folded program to give to parents when they came to the play. And I think we all had to like design a candidate, and then they chose one of them that was going to be the one you gave to parents. And I remember the one that I drew. I remember it very clearly. So my parents would watch the news, and I didn't understand anything that was on the news. But a thing that was on the news all the time in 1992, I guess, was the soundbite of George H.W. Bush going, "Read my lips, no new taxes." And that was just on the news all the time. And I remember that was a big thing. I mean, I don't actually remember this from the time. I now know in retrospect that was a thing that Clinton used to hit Bush, because that was like a broken promise that Bush made. And Clinton was going after the whole economy thing. And so, and like that was just in my brain because I just heard it repeated so much and had no idea what it meant. But in like a 2-year-old brain, that's what a president says. Like a president just says, "Read my lips" all the time. That's just that's what they do. And so my program for this play, which was like a sort of children's like goofy version, I think, of Mice and Men.
A goofy version of Mice and... Where was the goofy part of Mice and Men?
I don't remember anything about it.
He just pets the rabbits.
That's all that happens.
The rabbits are fine.
That's all that happens.
But they're huge. And they want to play.
So my program for that play was a picture, like a crayon drawing of Bush, like going, "Read my lips, I will not raise taxes," which was also a misquote anyway.
Good, I like that.
"I will not raise taxes." And it was him like pointing with his finger up, sticking out of the dome of the Capitol building, which I thought was the White House. So it was just wrong in all ways. And also
What does that have to do with the play?
It had nothing to do with the play.
Did your image get picked?
It did not get picked.
That's too bad.
But,
Why did you do that?
Because as a child, it was just like, this is a thing that I know. Like, it must be relevant to this situation. Much like this story on this podcast.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, you really... History is repeating itself.
It's just a thing. It's a thing that I know that I know about the president.
Read my lips.
Yep.
Read them.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
There are no new
Josie of Mice and Men.
Nope.
Yeah, read my lips.
I didn't even have the like cleverness to morph it into something even vaguely appropriate like that. It was just completely nonsensical.
Child understanding of politics may be one of the greatest things. It's kind of like child's understanding of science, but just even better.
I feel like I had a fairly good grasp of politics, but in a skewed way, because in the UK we had this comedy show called Spitting Image. Have you ever seen that show? No. It was a comedy show of people with puppets. They're these really grotesque caricatures of politicians and famous people, and they would do these skits, and I just loved it. But so I knew all these really random people who I had no idea who the hell they were, really, but I just knew the government was made up of all these people.
That's actually
great.
great.
Yeah, and I just knew them from a really early age. All these weird Tory government officials and how sleazy they were and awful.
That's fantastic. You were actually educated as a child into like,
kind
how
of,
this horrible shit works, basically.
It was only after like years that you realized that those puppets actually represented real people and weren't just your favorite puppet friends.
They were good. Thatcher in it was always dressed in like full Nazi gear and
oh my god,
like constantly, and everyone would address her as sir.
Oh my god!
They had, but like
now I know why you are the person.
Yeah, I also just got a lot of like Spaff understanding just now.
John Major was in there, and he was just completely grayscale. Like he was just really boring, just like gray man that didn't do anything. It's a good show.
Oh, we should have these things in America.
Yeah.
I also played a platformer.
Oh, good!
Yes.
I love platformers. Yeah. Tell me about it.
I played Trine 3.
Ooh.
Yeah. Trine was a game that we talked about a lot back on the like original run of Idle Thumbs. And I guess we must have talked about Trine 2 also.
Yeah, we probably did.
Because my Steam says that I played 6 hours of it, but I don't remember anything about Steam 2.
We definitely talked about
Steam
Trine
2.
I remember.
All right.
That was right around
it's
the dawn of the Vanneman years.
I wish they'd bring that out.
When it came to Trine 2, I feel like most of what we talked about was, it's more Trine.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
We're really enamored with the first Trine.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, and to be honest, that is really, I suppose, the main takeaway from Trine 3, which is like, okay, it's more Trine. it's now like not locked to 2D. Maybe Trine 2 also wasn't locked to 2D. Was someone who remembers more about Trine 2?
I played a lot of Trine 2, but yeah, I can't recall it ever being.
Original.
Yeah, I can't recall it ever actually being.
This game exists on like there's a you can go into the background and foreground.
So is it still fixed camera?
Weird.
There's depth?
Yes, it's still side scrolling, but there's depth to it.
So it's like Double Dragon or something.
Yeah, exactly. But in
Mischief
fully real time 3D. It doesn't change the game a huge amount, but it does. Along with here, let me just explain what Trine is, I suppose. So all of the Trine games, the hook to them is that they're side-scrolling platformers in which you control 3 different characters at the same time by switching between them at will. And so you have a wizard, like a warrior, and a archer, hookshot rogue kind of character.
Yeah, or you play 3-player and you have 1 each.
That's true.
Or whatever combination of
people.
Yeah.
I've really played it like 90% of the time, just single player switching between them. So that kind of feels like what the game is to me. Although, I could imagine if you played a lot of co-op, that would be your sort of mental like conception of the game. So the thing that is cool about playing it single player is that a lot of the puzzles can be solved using various different characters. Some of them can only reasonably be solved with one character, but maybe that's not true. But sometimes maybe only 2 of the 3 characters can solve a given thing. So the wizard has the ability to like conjure, geometric objects that you can use to like weight things or use as a platform to climb up things, and like he can move things around with telekinesis. And the warrior is stronger and can deflect things with his shield and is the best warrior out of all of them. And the rogue thief character has a super fun grappling hook, swingy thing, and a bow. And switching between these 3 things, like especially once you get a good fluidity with the game, is really fun. It's just kind of there's something nice about the game in that it allows you to solve puzzles in a very mushy way. There are definitely some puzzles that clearly have been designed for a very particular solution. Like there's this huge like troll fisherman character who's just blocking a bridge, and he stays there until he can get a bite on his fishing rod, so he finally can like go home. And you just have to like tie something to his fishing rod with the thief's grappling hook thing. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's the only way to solve that puzzle. So that's an exception. But most of the puzzles are kind of mushy physics-based things where you can like either really elegantly do it by like swinging from hook to hook, or you can just kind of like weirdly kludge shit together, by spawning stuff in with the wizard, or you can kind of just like Skyrim up the wall with the warrior because you're just kind of jumping on all the little like protruding bits of collision. And I really, really like that the game just is not designed to smooth all that stuff out. Like you can kind of use any combination of those approaches at any time, and it feels very player centric in that way. And also it is just kind of a naive feeling game in that way. Like they've made 3 of these things at this point, so they know what they're doing, and it's not a hugely surprising formula, but there's something nice about how kind of harmless this game is, because really, what you're doing is you're just solving a bunch of like physics puzzles and like platforming around. And I like that it is not overbearing in its like outrageous lore or like dark gritty shit or anything. It's just kind of a pleasant, colorful, very beautiful, colorful experience. Yeah.
All of that stuff you described translates so well to co-op because
I'm sure,
the chaos of having 3 of you all at once. You can imagine the madness, and everyone's like, "Oh, I can swing up here. Oh, I can't get up there. Help me up here. I'll build you a platform. I'm gonna fly you into this thing. Ha! Fuck you." It's super fun.
Yeah.
That's
We worked out that the wizard who can't hurt anyone, right? So there's enemies. He's just like, "Help! Someone kill this enemy who's after me."
Build boxes around yourself.
But if he could, though, like knock an enemy out like a skeleton, you can like turn them into bones, like a classic platformer thing with a platform, and then you could just stand on his head and it wouldn't come back to life. And just like, look, I'm standing on a guy. Just come and get this guy. He's gonna kill me. That kind of stuff is good. Anyway,
I
like that game.
It's a fun series. I really enjoy this
fun.
series.
But the third one,
the third one, it's good. I've had an interesting experience playing the game with the most recent ones. I think I'm pretty sure is kind of exacerbated by the added depth. You know, the sort of like pseudo full 3D nature of the gameplay. I guess not even pseudo. It is full 3D. It's just it's constrained. It makes you can control this game with mouse and keyboard or with a controller. And what's interesting is that, especially with that added dimension, it really, really changes the experience which one you're using, because you have, anyone who's played games where you can shoot with a bow, that like shoot on an arc, knows that shooting a projectile, like an arced projectile in strict 2D is very, very different to shooting it in strict 3D, because when you're in 2D, the screen space of the game, like the flat screen, maps perfectly to your actual, like arc that you're shooting. But in 3D, when there's depth as well, it's like, what does it mean when I'm pointing to this point on the screen? Like, is it going all the way back to the last thing that it collides with in the scene? Or is it like going to infer that I want to kind of shoot like halfway?
It doesn't draw the arc.
It does, but you can't just like flip to exactly where you want to shoot with the stick and know that it's going to be like that. You can predict exactly where it's going to end up the way you can in 2D, when it's just, if I'm pointing the stick 72 degrees to the left, that is exactly translated in the game, and I can just do it, and I don't need to like think about it. And so the result of that is that most of the time with games, for any given game and any given person, it's like, I prefer how this controls with mouse and keyboard, or I prefer how this controls with a controller. But what I found in Trine 3, this is not just because of 3D, it's also because there are 3 different characters with 3 entirely different movesets. Like, whether I'm playing with mouse and keyboard or a controller actually just means I end up using totally different characters. Like, when I'm using a mouse and keyboard, I use the wizard and the thief a lot. And when I'm using a controller, I basically never use the wizard, because it is so easy to drag his stuff around with the mouse, to like spawn a crate and then just drag it to exactly where we want it to go, to pick something up and just move it around with the cursor.
Trine 3 is built for the Steam controller.
Oh man, I would be really interested to try it with the Steam controller. Maybe that is the best of both worlds. Maybe the opposite of that is true. I don't know.
Wizard on the controller, though, creates its own hilariousness. Like trying to goddamn draw the square you need, but you've drawn the platform instead.
Well,
hold on, guys. I'm gonna get a box.
Wait.
I'm gonna get a box.
Yeah.
No, not that one. Ignore that one.
But I like this game a lot, and I will continue playing it. I played it for several hours this weekend.
So you haven't finished it yet?
No, I haven't finished it. There's like a Mario World style level structure where there's a sort of world map that you progress from level to level. Each level has a collectible that it tracks how many of this collectible, these little glowing crystals that you pick up in the game, and you can go back and try individual parts of the level if you didn't collect all of them, and then those collectibles are used to unlock like other non-crit path levels in the world map. But they're little triangles, and the game calls them trineangles.
Oh.
So that's what happens in this.
Thanks, Trine.
Yeah.
Trine was in the news today.
It was in the news today?
Mm-hmm. It made the news.
For what?
On Polygon or whatever.
Oh,
Okay.
Whatever that site is.
Goodness. What's that? What is this site?
Apparently, the game is kind of short. And the story ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. And there's been a bit of a backlash. And the developer said today that the future of the series was in doubt. And essentially, they halfway through production.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I know. Halfway through production, they realized they were trying to make a game they couldn't afford to make, and so didn't.
What do you
And
mean?
just
What do you mean
shipped
by
a
that?
game.
They just shipped half
They were
of
like,
the game or something?
oh, yeah. God, I can't remember the numbers. They said that like the game that they had tried to make was like a $15 million game, and they didn't have that money, so they had to make a much shorter game, and they thought it would be okay, but there's just been this huge apparent community uprising of like, what the fuck? This game is like way too short and ends on like the story just goes.
I bet that I wouldn't even have noticed.
Yeah.
Because I'd skip all the cutscenes.
They're kind of irrelevant anyway, I guess, to
Yeah.
like if you're really enjoying the puzzle part. But anyway, I thought I'd bring that up because I read that today in the news.
Huh.
Poor old Trine.
like a
I probably would have been
Shenmue 3
so.
situation.
I probably would have been so pleased with myself for playing all the way through the game that it wouldn't have occurred to me to
I
complain
beat it.
about.
It was
Yeah,
too
I was like,
short.
hey,
He's like, when's the last time I did that?
Yeah.
4 hours.
Perfect.
That's
That's
great.
good.
That's a good game.
Maybe that means I'm close to the end. Then I don't know. Maybe I'm.
When the story
Maybe you'll
happens,
load it up,
when-
walk through
yeah.
a thing, over.
Yeah.
I mean, the
You'll
thing
get to
is,
the Trine cataclysm where like an earthquake happens and half the world map just falls away and you're supposed to feel bad for all the people who died.
And then it just says the
And
end.
then at the end, yeah.
I mean, Trine 2...
Question mark? And that's why it's got a cliffhanger ending.
Are they all dead? Are they all crystals now? I don't know. Trine 2 was released like 7 times or some ridiculous
What?
thing.
What does that mean?
I mean, like, there was like a special edition and there was another special edition and then it was, I feel like that game was released and released and released. So that's interesting to me that maybe perhaps, I don't know, those re-releases were all part of trying to get enough money for Trine 3. I'm putting things in my mind together now at this point, but I don't
In
know.
related news, Trine 2 was released.
Again, Trine 2, Trine 3 edition was released. Well, that sucks. I hope they do okay because
I
they
do
make
as well.
cool games. I like the Trine series.
Agreed.
It's Frozen Bite, isn't it? Frozen Bite, I think.
I agree so hard we should take a break now.
Yeah, we all agreed to a break.
We should caucus in the other room and about how much we agree about how much we like the
And
Trine
make
series.
sock puppets based on ourselves.
I'd be really up for making sock puppets based on ourselves right now.
I could take or leave a sock
Politicians.
puppet of the existing world.
Video games.
So this episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you, Danielle Riendo, by a
Yeah.
new sponsor.
Whoa.
You probably like to draw,
I do it a lot.
sketch.
It's a lot
doodle.
of sketching. Doodling, right here.
Well, you can use a Sketchbook, brought to you by the Autodesk Corporation.
Oh, makers of such fine things as Maya.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just a really simple to use, like very feature-rich sketching app for Mac, Windows, and iOS and Android.
Oh, cool.
It has lots of digital drawing features like layers and yada yada yada.
Excellent.
But it also has like flipbook features and things like this, and it seems really great. Anyway, you can go to sketchbook.com/thumbs and get a free trial of Sketchbook with no credit card required
Oh,
today.
cool. That would be really cool to have something like that on my iPhone since I like to draw a lot and I also like to, put things
Have
into
my
my
phone with me.
little things and have my phone with me. Exactly.
Sketchbook.com/thumbs, Jacob Rodkin.
Video games.
There's no accident anymore.
This is the Rick and Morty sound pack for Dota 2.
Oh!
Double kill. Oh, man.
It's so good.
Well, looks like we got ourselves a triple kill here, Rick. You've been acting like a detective.
It's amazing.
I love
It's
that
actually
show.
really good. So the Rick and Morty announcer pack came out for Dota today. Dota last week, Dota 2. And it's really good.
Here's the thing that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it was perfectly situated in my life to where my ramp up of enthusiasm for Rick and Morty, which started maybe 10 days ago, hit an apex right when the announcer pack was hit the store. So it just all felt
That's uncanny.
right
I started
in my
watching
life.
it right around the exact day.
There's something in the zeitgeist about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really. I've never.
I'm going to contrast
Sorry,
what
go
you
ahead.
just said, and then I'll go right. This will be 30 seconds. I'll go right back to you. So here, this speaks to the quality of that announcer pack because I watched an episode of Rick and Morty, did not care for it really. I've played Dota 2 and I respect it, but don't
Care for it, really.
Don't really care for
It's
it.
not your thing, yeah.
But I fucking loved every second of watching that stupid announcer pack promo because it was like such a good. It was like informative about what was happening in the game, but also just obviously like the people portraying those characters are just fucking good at their jobs in a really intense way.
person.
One person.
Really?
Yeah.
So good.
Wow. Well, whatever. That was great. That is a good announcer pack for Dota 2.
Yeah, it's fun because the announcer pack comes with just there's sort of two phases of the announcer, which is, hey, your tower's under attack. Oh no, your racks. Oh no, watch out. Oh, this tower. There's that stuff. But then there's also just the multi-kill, mega-kill stuff that you remember from Unreal.
Tournament.
And you can turn those on selectively. So I like to play with just the multi-kill Rick and Morty. It's so good. It's so satisfying to have them flip out when you do something good, as opposed to having.
That's the part of it that it was so appealing. Like as someone who, isn't a big Dota player, but understands what video game concepts are, and that is never something that happens ever in those voiceovers because they're all designed to be like. Just awesome. It's a multi-kill. Like, it's no big deal. It's just fucking cool.
Exactly.
Man.
It's also, there's something about that it's just fucking cool that actually obfuscates what you've achieved.
Right.
And I've been playing Dota forever. Like, for so long now. It's gross.
You've been playing Dota since 2012 because you started trying it out when we were doing the Kickstarter.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. So, I never really internalized the pattern of, like, monster kill, wicked, sick, godlike. I just knew I was doing better. I was like, oh, I'm doing good. But Rick and Morty just uses like the Valve hooks for that stuff, like in the whatever like matrix of situations that could happen inside of Dota 2, and makes it way more clear about what's happening. So when Rick's just like, oh my god, it's 5 in a row. This isn't an accident, ladies and gentlemen. It's like so good.
That was the one that killed me. It isn't an accident because I played enough Dota 2 to understand that like even a shit ass Dota 2 player like me can get a double kill sometimes. Like it doesn't never happen. It's possible, but it's mainly an accident when it does happen. And so it's not an accident. I was like, man, that is a brilliant, like, it's just a really brilliant, it's really hard to write lines like that for video games. Like, if you ever have to write just infinite barks for video games, it's actually really hard, and no one would guess that it's hard because the result is, like, not interesting. Like, the best case result is, like, it's not very annoying, and so, like, that was such a pitch perfect, like, just amazing 4-word creation to describe that situation. But in a way that just never happens in video game barks.
And Jordan, what's his name? The guy, the creator of Rick and Morty, who does the voices. I can't remember his last name.
Justin Roiland, yeah. He has this really wonderful thing that he does sometimes with Rick where he sort of like laughs at his own read, where he's got sort of like a weird giggle along the way. Yeah.
And it plays so nice in the Rick and Morty announcer pack.
He does loads of weird improv stuff with those characters. You can just like listen to files of him just talking endless stupid shit in those voices, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And there's like, they recorded, they shipped an hour of contiguous barks. Like, it's definitely, which is pretty amazing.
For the announcer packs?
It seems like a lot. I know the Bastion one was a lot too. I was talking to Greg Kasavin at Supergiant about that, and they shipped.
I bet they're all pretty long.
Yeah,
there's so much stuff they have to.
Yeah, but it's high quality. It's $8 though.
Wow,
it's expensive.
It's worth it. If you, I don't know.
It's right on that line for that community. I mean, if you're into it, and you buy it. But $8, it's like, oh man.
Yeah, if you're a person who likes Rick and Morty and who likes Dota, the strange ass combination of those two things appearing seems like it would be a thing that would convince you to drop $8.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nice that it's just so
it's
well
not really on the line. Probably it's on the line, I guess, for people like me, who's like, I'm not super into either of these things, but it's a compelling result. So I'm like, God, I would almost just get that just to see it all. But anyone who falls in the category of really liking both those things, that's not on the line. That's that's just like, what? These two things of all fucking things are the same now? Like, okay, fine. Here,
it's nice that it works too, because you would think that like it kind of would break a weird wall or something, but it works really nice. Also, a feature that people probably don't know, but if you're casual to a game like this or have never played, is that if anybody in the entire game of the 10 people have purchased something like that, anyone can open up a menu and use it.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's nice when I go into a game and I'm like, oh, somebody bought Rick and Morty, I can use it.
I mean, that's really smart, because if you didn't even know that it had come out, now you do.
No, it's really great. Yeah.
I would pay top dollar for a Chris Remo voice pack. For
we could make that happen.
What would it even be?
We could put that.
You just going good. We did a perfect example of it earlier.
We could put that in the workshop.
Oh, I got a headshot.
Get enough green lights and we'll do it.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Dota announcer pack with you discussing how difficult it would be to write a line for this particular.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's happening here. This seems
5 in a row.
Good.
That seems impossible. How would you even do that?
I would do one if it was me and Nick Breckon.
That would be amazing.
Oh my god, yes.
I would pay.
I would do it. I would not do one alone. No
okay,
way.
well, let's make it happen.
You and Nick would be a great.
Let's make it happen.
That would be the new Rick and Morty. It would be perfect.
It would not be.
Yeah.
You would be so disappointed.
No.
I'm sorry.
I would not. I think it would be great.
Yeah, fair enough.
The goal is to just get them in front of microphones with all of the lines a bunch, like many times, to the point where it just devolves to nothing. Yeah. And then the magic of what that announcer pack would be would all happen in the editing, when you were chopping it down and catching the little bits and pieces.
Yeah. And all the parts where everyone is just completely sick of saying these things. And sort of
once Nick crosses over into bad Nick territory, that's where you want him.
That's where you got to be.
Yeah, you get the bad Nick.
Yeah.
Bad Nick.
The bad Nick pack for Dota. I like that.
The reason that Rick and Morty is an Adult Swim show.
Yeah.
And I figured that we could start go from talking about Rick and Morty to talking about Messhoff.
Yeah.
Because Messhoff, who is the creator of Nidhogg, the crazy fencing game we've talked about a lot over the years on Idle Thumbs, put out a more complete rev on Flywrench, which is a game we've talked about before, we should talk about again. But first, Chris, I want you to talk about your experience playing Messhoff's Adult Swim burger flipping game. It was 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it looked like a disaster. So.
Yeah, Messhoff released a game called Pipedreamz, which is one word and with a Z instead of an S at the end. So if you search for Pipedreamz with a Z, you'll find a Flash game on Adult Swim, and you can just play it for free on the internet. And so, as Jake said, Messhoff is the guy who made Nidhogg and Flywrench. And if you've played any of his games, you know that his aesthetic is very, very lo-fi, kind of almost abrasive, in-your-face visual.
Of glitchy garbage noise, but the animations are always very crisp and expressive, even though it's inside of a mess.
Right.
I find that to be so just amazing. Like, I find it just be really astounding how good that stuff looks.
Clear, crisp.
Yeah, just how concise and directed something like Nidhogg is, while being gross and messy on the edges. Oh,
I mean, also
I'm really impressed by it.
Also, it really the visual design really pairs with the gameplay that he tends to make, which tends to be very frenetic and very twitchy and requiring like every single fucking cycle of your brain at all times to like just not collapse. The burger game maybe a little bit less so, although it gets there. So I don't even know if it's worth like discussing this game other than saying that it exists and saying that you can find it. It's you have to like eat raw meat, I guess, without people seeing you, and you also flip burgers, and you also like are on a surfboard some of the time separately to that. It's a weird experience, but it can serve as...
a lot of people eat raw meat.
I mean, nothing wrong with raw meat. I love like a beef tartare. Like, great
but like
meal,
there's like people who'll just like eat like the chub pack of ground beef just raw.
There are families who raise their children to only eat raw meat, and when their children eat cooked meat, they get sick.
What?
That is a thing.
Fucking crazy.
What?
Yeah, that is a thing. Because
that's what this game is actually about.
It's really an
I don't actually
indictment
know
of
if
this
the meat
behavior.
in the game is raw. I think I just kind of made that up.
It might be. It looks like it is.
It looks like it is because it's bright red. But anyway, so Flywrench is the game that the reason that we were talking about Messhoff at all is because a new version of this game, Flywrench, which came out before Nidhogg, like years ago. Flywrench came out originally
4 years
as a free, maybe even more than that. I think more than that.
I
It came out as a
can't
free,
imagine
like,
this is anything
executable.
other than the actual wrenches that whatever his name, the mole, throws at you in Super Mario levels.
It's not really. I mean, the movement is actually weirdly kind of similar to that, but the game is nothing remotely.
I was hoping
similar.
Jake would know the name of that mole guy.
Is it Marty Mole?
No.
Something weird. Yeah.
I think that's the name of that blind mole. I thought.
Oh.
Maybe not. Well, whatever.
Monty Mole. Maybe? Is it Monty Mole? Sorry, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Rossetti
You're
is the
talking about
only
something
mole
for
that
real.
matters.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
So Flywrench is a 2D, I guess, arcade game is what you'd call it. Like, we don't really have a genre for what this is. You're controlling what is described as a spacecraft, but is basically just an it's just a line.
It's like a pong paddle.
Yeah, it's like a little pong
right?
paddle. Yeah, exactly. And you propel it by...
Rocky Wrench.
Oh,
there
of
you go.
course.
You propel it through like 2D line art levels by hitting up on the on just your like directional arrows on the keyboard, which then causes it to sort of get a little bit of upward momentum
flaps,
as it flaps. Exactly right.
It's not dissimilar to Flappy Bird in what you're trying to do.
It is, in a way, it is
The
kind
movement
of
of it actually feels very much like Flappy Bird,
Yeah.
or what was the other the helicopter copter?
Swing copter.
Yeah, it feels very similar to either of those in that you sort of, there's always a force pulling you down really hard, and you have to fight that by flapping.
Yes, and the additional kind of hook to it, the thing that is the unique aspect of the game is that when you're in a particular move, like when you're in the middle of a flap, or you can go into like a roll maneuver where you bounce off walls and you don't die when you hit walls, which you normally do. You turn a different color. So normally your craft is white. When you're doing a move, you're either red or green, and you will die when you touch a wall that is not the same color you are. So most of the walls
like
are
gates or something through the world, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are, and some of them are just walls that you can't get through. So like if you hit a green wall but you are white or red, you will die, and the level just instantly restarts in that sort of Super Meat Boy way of just no downtime, which is great. And if you have to pass through a white gate or a red gate, and you're not white or you're not red, you will die and you start over. And so you're constantly trying to negotiate, like, I have to do this move, which will make me be red, but I will hit a white wall if I don't immediately let go. And because I'm letting go, I need to have the momentum that is I've already accrued from doing that move. Like I can't flap again or I'll die because I'll be the wrong color when I hit the wall. So it's this constant, exactly. So this constant management of like picking the right move and like gliding through the walls and at the correct color. And it is like I was saying before, like it just demands every single fucking micro unit of your attention in a really intense way. And it all swirls together with the really abrasive style of the visuals and the fluidity of the animation and the starkness of the color design and the just like in this new version, there's the crazy visual effects that are going on in the background to create this just whole just fucked up sensory experience of like doing something incredibly demanding, but also feeling like the world is just going crazy
like
around
Super
you.
Hexagon is another game like that.
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
mechanically a lot more complicated because Super Hexagon you just move left or
right.
right.
But it exists in it's
yes.
Yes.
But also we're gonna flash
it definitely exists in the same aesthetic
You're
universe
under
as that game.
assault.
Yes, you are totally under assault. And I think when we talked about when we talked about Flywrench, which is this game, years ago, I think I described it as, if I recall correctly on the podcast, as in a way being sort of terrifying. And I think some people didn't know what I meant when I said that, and it probably wasn't exactly the right word to use. But what I meant when I said that, and what might be even more true with the sort of current visual design of the game, is that it just puts you in a state of extreme stress because you're being so taxed mentally and visually, but you can't let up or you will die. And then also because every time you die, the game instantly restarts. There's no catching your breath. Like when I catch my breath in this game, it's just I stop pressing anything and I die like 8 times in a row because I respawn, instantly fall down and die, just bap, 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 bap. And that's the closest, that's the closest thing you get to like taking a pause, and that is stressful because you're dying a lot. It is just kind of like psychically overwhelming, and it's
psychically overwhelming.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
There is something that is really compelling about it, even though it feels like it's from a different time. Like I'm glad that I had played Flywrench in the past and knew that I really loved it when the new one came out, because the climate in which we, or at least I, play games now is so different. I suspect this is true for a lot of people. Games are so easily acquired on Steam, and games like this are so affordable on Steam that it's so easy to, and everyone knows this, right? The thing everyone says about Steam is like, got that backlog, got that crazy backlog. It's so easy to just not feel like a responsibility to put a lot of time into any one particular game on Steam. And this game is so incredibly unsympathetic to the player. Like it's not seductive in the way that a lot of games want to be, to sort of just hook you. It really just demands everything of you all the time. And it pays that back in kind of just that intrinsic satisfaction of achieving something in a difficult game just for its own sake. And if you're not the kind of person who gets that satisfaction, which is understandable, then there's no reason to play this game, because it will not extend you any olive branches, any fucking olive twigs. But if you do like that and you can get over that initial, like, this just seems impossible, you know, like, this just seems bad because games shouldn't be this hard instantly, you know, which is definitely a kind of truth that is, in a lot of ways, just sort of emblazoned across modern, like, design culture. If you can get past that, it's really fucking good. Like, it is shocking how brilliant this game design is. I felt that way years ago, and playing it again now, I've, like, definitely reconfirmed that belief. So it's called Flywrench, and it's by Messoff, and you can get it on Steam now.
If you are one of those people who just finds it immediately impossible, like, just try. The way I played this game first, I super enjoyed it. I just played it with a friend, and we just hot seat played it, basically, because the impossibility of it was so stupid. You're just laughing at, like, each other's complete failure, constant failure to, like, you know, just get through a thing. But then when you finally do get it, it's like really, really exciting and fun. So, you know,
that reminds me, actually, even though it's not related to what you said specifically, but, like, in just talking about, if you're the kind of person who, you know, maybe bounces off of it at first a little bit, there is apparently, like, an easier mode in this version of the game that I did not play. There's easy mode and there's just normal mode, and I just played normal mode because I figured, okay, I already know that I like this. I don't really need to be eased into it.
I heard the ghost of Nick Breckon when you said there's an easier mode. Just go.
I felt that as
baby mode,
as I was bypassing that mode. Yes, I actually don't know what that mode contains, but there is one. So maybe you don't have to, like, know that you'll.
The first level, you just spawn and then you fall into the exit.
It's that over and over again.
Yeah, and the next level just again.
Portal falling.
It's a bit longer.
That would be actually a pretty amazing troll.
So much,
if you built a deviously impossible game, and you just included an easy mode that was just nothing. That was just,
you just ran it and it completed itself.
Yeah.
With an amazing ending.
Yeah, I did it.
It's just a demo recording of a professional speedrunner playing through the whole normal game, and it's just on playback.
The only way you lose is by pressing any key,
right, to disrupt it. It still fully accepts input, and yours overrides that player's. So anything you do will just spoil the perfect, meticulous play. Anyway, Flywrench is the name of the game, and it is
and that's
good.
a slogan as well.
Yeah,
when it was a Milton Bradley board game.
It's the name of the game.
Flywrench.
Ask for it by name.
Should we read some?
What? Ask for it by name? Like, what else are you gonna? How else are you gonna ask for something?
So you're like, I'd like some Tylenol. They're like, okay, and then they just give you
acetaminophen.
Just
brand.
Unknown
Ask
brand.
For it by name.
I would like headache.
I would like Tylenol brand headache medicine, please.
Well, the entire Band-Aid marketing campaign is based on that. They all the Band-Aid brand bandage strips. Like, even the song is "I love Band-Aid brand because Band-Aid stuck on me." Like, they work it into everything. You gotta say Band-Aid brand. Can't just say Band-Aid.
Weird.
Ask for it by name.
Can I get a Xerox machine?
It's in your grocer's freezer.
Yeah.
Can I get a Xerox machine? Sure, in your grocer's freezer. I don't think that's where Band-Aid
Ask your
brand.
Oh, that's
Your parents
mom,
help you hook
kids.
it up.
Those are my favorite old
parents
ads,
help you
like
hook it up.
50s, 60s ads. It's like, go tell your mom you need this.
Yes.
Oh, so good. I think there was, like, a rule against that direct marketing eventually, like in the 80s, where you couldn't be like, go bug your mom that you need this Nerf ball until you can't breathe anymore.
Marketers found it really hard until they found the loophole where they could just demand that you do something really stupid like Speed or change your name to Turok. And then they were happy again.
And that happened in 2002, weirdly. Same year. It was a changing, change of the guard.
Ask your parents why they named you Turok.
You'll find a dusty N64 cartridge in their nightstand.
God.
I saw a headline today that said there were a bunch of, however old they are, 10-year-old kids out there called Anakin.
Oh, God.
Horrible.
Poor children.
Well,
I remember getting an email once on Little Big Planet from someone, hopefully they listen to this podcast, and their name was Maximus. And I thought, I wonder if they were born in the year Gladiator came out. And I looked it up, and they were.
I know a guy named Maximus. I box with a guy named Maximus, and he's younger than me.
Was he born in the year Gladiator?
He might
Yeah,
have
when did
been. I think he's a
Gladiator come
college
Did
kid.
he play Little Big Planet? Find out.
Yeah.
If he's a college kid, then he wasn't.
Yeah,
When
no,
did
he would have
Gladiator
been.
come out?
It would have been
2001 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys want to do some reader mail?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Tom Kidd writes, from Idle Thumbs 224, Sean, she's like the Shodan of this fucking bad insurance company. Jake, where's that Shock series spiritual successor that's just the story about this insurance company? Tom Kidd writes, this is hilarious until you realize that System Shock 2 is actually owned in part by an insurance company. It's a long story and parts of it are hard to come by due to the nature of the parties involved, but I think the gist of it is that Looking Glass, in order to raise capital to make System Shock 2, sold part of the ownership of the game to an outside investor. When Looking Glass went under, these investors sold a stake in the game to a company called Star Insurance, or some other kind of similar transaction occurred. Star Insurance had a reluctance to try and do anything with the game, as well as also not owning whatever publishing rights EA still had. Lots of phone calls and finagling, and finally Night Dive Studios got the thing off the ground and going. But to this day, if you go to the GOG site and watch the video, it still says copyright 1999 Star Insurance. So, in essence, an insurance company already owns Shodan. What could go wrong? Thanks and keep up the great work while you still can. Tom Kidd.
Man, that's one of those crazy, obscure, weird things that people find out and then have no use for until someone brings it up on Idle Thumbs.
Makes me want a Shock game set in an insurance company way more. I was like, well, unfortunately, so this email says, like, just unfortunately, that seems like a good idea until you realize it's true. I think that he means it seems like a good idea until you realize it's the best possible idea.
Yes.
Now it's actually historical fiction.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that kind of thing did used to be a lot more common because quote, independent computer game developers in the 90s, like sort of pre-modern conception of indie, but just like computer game studios that were just started up by people and were just run as independent companies were often bought by just companies that did various things. And they're just like, this is just, this is just, we're going to buy this company as part of our just overall portfolio of companies. That kind of thing happened a lot. I think in the UK as well. Maybe not as much, but in the US definitely, and in Japan certainly as well. Anyway, so Andy Connor writes, for 3 years, I used to work as an audio transcriber for a company that had the contract to type up that state's police interviews. Long story short, I used to watch and listen to DVDs of interviews like those in Her Story all day, and I had to write down everything that was said in them. I don't think this impacted my experience of the game much. I loved it. But I am perhaps well-placed to say this. The single most unrealistic feature of the interviews is not the gothic magical twins or the Hollywoodized psychosis. The single most unrealistic feature of the interviews is that no one ever interrupts anyone else. Seriously, when you actually listen to conversations with the task of transcribing every single word and half word said, the amount that people interrupt each other and talk over each other is staggering.
Not this podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say. Maybe 70% of every transcripts I typed for those 3 years looked like this. Constable. And so where? Suspect. I don't. Constable. Would you have? Suspect. No, why you're? Constable. Hang on. Where would you? On the map there? Suspect. Yeah, no. Constable. On the right? Ad infinitum. They would not let us clean these up for ethical reasons. I don't know how anyone managed to get anything useful out of them. In some ways, Her Story scratched a really deep itch for me that I'd forgotten about, specifically how much of a relief it was back in the day when I got to transcribe an interview with a calm, respectful suspect listening carefully to the questions asked, and a calm, respectful police officer who would let the suspect finish their answer before interrupting. Interviews like that were incredibly rare. Hannah's interview would have been a remarkable day of work for a lot of reasons, clearly, but over and above the story, I think I would have just enjoyed their thoughtful conversational etiquette. Thanks again, Andy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And it makes all kinds of sense, of course, like, given what we know about sort of interrogations and given what we know about people under stress, like that makes sense. And of course, this is something I wouldn't have thought of.
Yep.
Cool.
Good. Lots of good behind the scenes emails recently. All right. So Chris writes, "Hi Thumbs. I was listening to your discussion on Second Life and the lofty aspirations of university teaching. I was listening to your discussion on Second Life and the lofty aspirations of universities teaching with Second Life, and it stirred some latent memories of my undergraduate degree where we had a module entirely based on our interaction with Second Life. I realize now that was not perhaps a normal class to be enrolled in on a computer science course. The module consisted of us working in groups of 4, getting familiar with the game, and then building houses in 10 by 10 meter plots on the virtual land belonging to our tutor, who is a Second Life enthusiast, to say the least. It was a strange experience cooperating with my classmates who I knew in real life from classes with them and the other modules we had, all working together on our PCs to awkwardly build low-res houses in Second Life with very basic scripting to open doors and windows. I think perhaps he was trying to prepare us for the 90s virtual reality cyberspace future that would inevitably await our generation after graduation. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, he's over. He's done. I thought I'd share this anecdote when I was listening to the podcast. Love the show. Keep up the good work. Christian. P.S. You mentioned playing Hacknet, but none of you mentioned Uplink, the 15-year-old game in the same vein by Introversion Software, with a similar mechanic and even more of a 90s cyberpunk nostalgia. Did you all miss it?
I missed it, but I did have a 3D animation professor in grad school who was obsessed with Second Life, and he ran an entirely separate project at Emerson College that was just building everything in Boston, every single building, in Second Life.
Does Boston now exist in Second Life?
I think it does. I mean, I didn't really follow it much, but
Somebody's
he was all
since been in
about
there and
it.
replaced it with Lincoln Logs shaped like dicks.
Entirely possible, which, isn't too far off of Boston.
Yeah, I was
so
going to say.
it's not the furthest thing from that.
Take that, Boston.
I lived there for a
Wicked
really
sick.
long time. I think it's okay. I can say it.
Bo Hagen Syrup writes...
Who?
Bo Hagen syrup.
Oh, cool.
It's a rad news.
The Swedish word for no is nay. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry. The Swedish word for no is something approximating nay.
Like a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for a nice podcast, Chris, Nick, Jake, Ronaldo, Sean, Danielle, and Spaff. My dearest regards, Bo. Who the
Thank you,
fuck is
Bo.
Ronaldo?
Who is Ronaldo?
Who the fuck is Ronaldo?
I can't remember why. I feel like
That's the beginning of our viral campaign also.
Who is Ronaldo?
Name your kid Ronaldo and get free idle thumbs in your inbox forever. Just subscribe to us at soundcloud.com/idle thumbs. Rate us on iTunes.
Name your kid Rolando and get an old iOS game.
That's not even the right name. Rolando.
Name your kid whatever their
anybody
name
play
is
Uplink?
/thumbs for a discount.
Name your kid. This is our child, Rebecca/thumbs. We got 20% off Sherry's berries now.
No, it's Becky.
Forever. Where the fuck's our nature box?
Niam Schoenherr writes, Hey all, when you mentioned the Petman story, I'm surprised you missed the most horrifying part. When the scientists are describing testing Petman's balance, they don't just swing a comically large ball at it. The researcher also says that sometimes they kick it. So they're making a lumbering terror bot and kicking it.
Oh my god.
Listen, we know all about the kicking.
Yeah,
the abuse.
we've seen the slow motion,
Poor Petman.
Free
glorified
Petman.
kicking.
And Big Dog.
Don't free
Petman. Are you kidding?
Don't free.
That's what he hopes. Yeah.
Petman and Hitchbot, both. Just the sad story.
Petman and Hitchbot is the Neil Blomkamp movie that
Why
Chappie
make
too.
Chappie?
one's a hippie hitchhiker, the other one's a killbot that knows nothing but death
And balancing.
balancing. It's really good at
Balancing. So he has to carry Hitchbot, even though Hitchbot's all messed up. And so he's
Yeah.
off to the
That's
side.
The heroic finale is that in slow motion.
Yeah, like
Bolts just peeling off in slow motion.
Hitchbot got fucked up and abandoned and they lost him. They sent Petman to find out where he is.
That's it.
So it turns out I mispronounced this reader's name. She sent a pronunciation guide at the bottom of the email. Her name is Niamh Schoenherr. And there's an entire rest of the email, which is, I figured I'd share my own little story about a celebrity. I work for a video archive in Chicago. My boss who founded the archive is a producer who did a lot of documentary work, and who was also a founding member of an organization called TV. I don't think many people remember TV, but it counted among its ranks a number of people who would eventually become pretty famous, namely Harold Ramis, Christopher Guest, and Bill Murray. I've unfortunately never met Bill Murray myself, but I did make a DVD for him. Specifically for him. My boss found some old footage he'd shot of Bill playing a game of baseball as a St. Paul Saint. I think Bill actually owned or partially owned the Saints, and for whatever reason he ended up playing as a player once, probably as a publicity stunt for the team. The footage wasn't the best, so my boss asked me to cut it down to the good parts and make a DVD of it to give to Bill. I tried to trim it down to parts where Bill was actually on camera, but there was this entire section where my boss got completely distracted by a guy with a pet pig. It's 15 minutes of him recording footage of a pig wearing a jersey and a baseball cap. I left it all in, even though that made it over half of the video, and I made the pig be the main image on the DVD menu. Sometimes when I'm sad, I just remember that Bill Murray owns a DVD I made ostensibly about him playing for the Saints, but is in fact mostly a pig wearing a Saints jersey and a hat. The only feedback I got on it was one day as my boss was leaving the office, he just said, Bill said he liked the DVD and left.
Oh, man. I bet he loved that
Thanks
DVD.
for all the laughs. Nia of Shoner.
Very good.
Brilliant.
So,
Excuse me. That's
that.
great.
It's a good note.
Solid
to go
reader mail this week.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff.
Reader mail has been really top notch. You can send us your own excellent reader mail. Excellent reader mail only, please.
The bar has been set. You've heard it yourself, reader.
I mean, you can send whatever you want, but I'm just going to read the excellent ones.
Bill Murray of a pig playing baseball.
Saints play football.
Can you make the thumbnail of this episode be a pig playing baseball? Is that possible?
Oh, that's a great idea.
So that was actually a note on a professional football team?
No, I don't think so. It must have been
I figured that was lower league.
Is this an Airbud joke? Is this
in my brain, though, I
this is
couldn't
going?
shake it, though. And I was having a hard time with the email. Couldn't shake it.
Cool.
Air babe.
If you have
pig
that
in the
stupendous
city.
reader mail, please send it to questions@idlethumbs.net.
Please do.
Danielle.
Please do. I have a lot of questions. I should write it.
Just send them the questions at Idle Thumbs.
I'm going to write them in.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Sketchbook. You can draw, doodle, design, color inside or outside the lines. It's totally up to you, Christopher Remo.
Oh, man.
You have the power with Sketchbook,
I
a
always
digital
wanted the
drawing
power.
app for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android that encourages you to express yourself wherever you happen to be. You can check it out at sketchbook.com/thumbs to start your free trial with no credit card required. That's sketchbook.com/thumbs. Thanks, Sketchbook.
Also, if you enjoy this podcast, you can find us on iTunes where you can leave us a review or a rating, both of which help us out a lot. And to find us very easily on iTunes, we now have our own provider page on iTunes. If you go to itunes.com/idlethumbs, you will find all of the shows on the Idle Thumbs network, all on our own iTunes page. They're all there, and you can browse them by category if you want. Not that there are all that many, but they're all there. You can rate and review them all and subscribe to them easily. iTunes.com/idlethumbs. They're all there. It's cool now.
Cool.
Winner.
Yep.